Does anyone have memories from childhood they just will never forget? Can you raise your hands? Any memories that you just think of fondly? When I was a kid, we lived 45 minutes plus from where we went to school. So every day my parents would put me in the car and drive us to school. And at first it was pretty close. School was in Castle Rock, maybe 15, 20 minutes away. Then we went to Powell Middle School, which was close to 40 minutes away, and then high school, also 45 minutes. And I have fond memories of sitting in the car every day, and what would we listen to, Val? 850 KOA every morning. And what was on 850 KOA? It was the sports talk radio and news. So I'd hear about the Broncos and who was signed and who was cut, and training camp, and it was fun. I loved it. And whenever Velma took us, we'd listen to it then for sure, because Velma was all up to date on the Broncos. So it was always good. We listened to sports. It was great. But then one day came, September 11th, 2001, and we were driving right on right on Santa Fe, just where it crosses C-470, and there was an interruption. There was news. And that is my memory of September 11th. That is burned into my mind. Do any of you have memories of September 11th? Some of you may have been in this country and have a set of memories. Some people here are from around the world and they may have a different set of memories. But they had a recent little study that showed how many people within my age group know exactly where they were when that day occurred. And it was right there, I-25 C-470, breaking news, a plane had hit the World Trade Center. So here we are again, 20 years later, and I figured we had to at least think about this day, and it really ties into the topic of our study today. 20 years have gone by, and really, what have we accomplished? And you know, all these memories, they're burned into my mind, all these pictures. I remember we still went to school. School wasn't canceled. The towers hadn't fell yet. And when we got to high school, my parents dropped me off, and everybody was in the lunchroom. And on either side of the lunchroom, there was a huge screen set up, and we were watching this live on the news. Everybody watching this live. And we saw the replays, another plane coming and crashing the other tower, and then possibilities of there's other planes that are out there that may be going for the White House because the Pentagon has been hit. And we were kids. I was a freshman. I was in 9th grade. And this day has forever changed me. It has forever changed, I think, the United States and the world. There is no way you can say that this has not changed the world. Just like that, almost 3,000 people just vanished. I was listening to some statistics on the radio yesterday going home, and they only found the full remains of very few people. And almost over 1,500 people, they were pulverized. They could find not even a piece of them. No one even for the family to bury. In fact, 20% of all Americans knew somebody who was affected by this day. And the killing didn't just stop there. People were sick from all that disease. You see that smoke from the towers going down. Those towers burned for months, supposedly, the ruins. With that acrid, burning smell people were breathing in every day. Firemen are still getting cancers, retiring early, bad lung disease from the effects of that day. So that was a very sobering day for me. And here we are, as 20 years go by, I just have a couple pictures. Because all kinds of things happened. Very quickly, you know, everyone was revved up for war. We were going to teach the Taliban a lesson. There you see Osama bin Laden. He claimed all glory. He's the one who did it all. And in a very short time, the mission was accomplished. President Bush was on the aircraft carrier giving the thumbs up. I'm currently reading a book called the Afghanistan Papers, and it goes through the whole war in Afghanistan, and it's just amazing the lies, the deception that went into this war where we thought we were doing something good, but everybody, all the generals covered it up. They just, oh yeah, we're getting better, we're getting better. Things are good. The mission's accomplished. But was it ever accomplished? It was never accomplished. Oh, maybe Obama, he accomplished the mission. Finally his ratings are going down and he gets a break. We had missed bin Laden before, but he gets a break now and he has this amazing mission where he sends SEAL Team 6. They take out Osama bin Laden. Yet, nothing. What do we hear now? Just in July, this last July. Oh, we have an army over 300,000 strong Afghanis. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. We've spent over $2 trillion in Afghanistan. We've built the country. We've built the army. We've built the system. We've left everything. If you look here, they were spending $300 million a day on equipment and training this Afghani army. Yet what happened? August 15th, 2021, almost perfectly 20 years later, there's the fall of Kabul. And it just falls in a day. I remember the weekend, I'm thinking, wow, these Taliban, they're coming down. They're just taking over the whole country. But maybe there will be a stand somewhere. Maybe there will be a stand. But then you have visions of this on that Sunday. I mean, we go to bed Saturday night and we hear the Taliban is advancing, and the next day you wake up and they're there. What happened? The Taliban is everywhere. They're in the capital. The president's gone. He flew off with all the money. And then you have images of this. This day will be seared in my mind. I'm sure it'll be seared in all of your mind. The desperation. In fact, in some ways, Vietnam is seared in my mind, not because I lived then, but because I've read so much about it. As a kid, I was fascinated with Vietnam. I read many books on Vietnam, and this is another Vietnam moment. In fact, you look back here, that helicopter taking off from our embassy. It's so much like Vietnam. All over again. So 20 years ago, the towers fell. Just a few weeks ago, Afghanistan and Kabul fell. And in just a day, you could say Kabul. I mean, there was not even a shot fired. And as I watched these images on August 15th, this phrase came into my mind, and it was from Revelation 18:10. And it says, Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come. Now, was Kabul a great city in our eyes? No. But no matter how stable it appeared, from what the president lied, from what the president of Afghanistan was lying, there's the news kind of covers it up, but there's actually a phone call where Biden talks to the president of Afghanistan and says, I don't care how bad it is, make it look good. So no matter how stable the facade was there, Kabul was going to fall in a day, without a single shot fired. There were those who didn't believe the towers would fall, but they fell. There were those who didn't think that Afghanistan would fall, but it fell. And there are those in this world who think that the system, everything that's here, everything we know, is so stable, so firm, it could never fall. But what does Revelation 18 say? Revelation says it will fall. And when you look at Revelation 18:7, what does the prostitute say? The prostitute who rides the beast. What does she say? She says in her heart, I sit a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. I will never weep, I will never be widowed, I will never be degraded. What I have will stand forever. And you know what? We have that feeling in this world. Many of us do, especially in America, where things are pretty stable. But Revelation 18 also says, after she says that in 18:8, for this reason her plagues will come what and when? In a single day. Death, mourning, famine. She will be burned up with fire, for mighty is the Lord God who has judged her. Who is this great prostitute? Who is this Babylon? She's a very popular topic in our church, in the SDA. We love Babylon. We talk about it over and over again. What is Babylon? Very briefly, I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty here. I'm just trying to get us to think about our place in this time. But Babylon is a system of rebellion. And where do we see Babylon? Okay, we see it here, but we see it where? In history, in the Bible. It comes from Genesis, from Babel. That is the origin, Babel, where they thought they could make themselves as gods, and we will go up to God. That is where the origins of the system of Babylon came from. So that's the headwaters of Babylon. And then you have Babylon all throughout Israel's history, right? Eventually Babylon, which is a strong nation, a world-leading nation in its time, it takes over. First of all, before it takes over, it is a source of idolatry, a false religion, okay? And then eventually it becomes a military group that is able to take over the city and the people of God. So God's people go into captivity. You have it there in Psalms, by the rivers of Babylon where we lay down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion. Then what happens in Isaiah? Isaiah 21, verse 9. It says, "And behold, there come riders and horsemen in pairs. And he answered, Fallen, fallen is Babylon, and all the carved images of her gods. He has shattered on the ground." So here's where Babylon is fallen. It comes all the way back from Isaiah 21, 9. John just repurposes it in Revelation. So who is this great prostitute? Was she destroyed when Persia destroyed Babylon? Was this false religion destroyed? By the time of John, the apostles, Peter is one of them, they call Rome Babylon. So the idea of Babylon was multifaceted. It wasn't just stuck with Babel. It wasn't just stuck with the country occupying, you could say, Iraq now. It is a definition that moved with time, and it represented the false religion that was opposed to God from the very beginning. And Rome, much like Babylon, occupied Israel and enforced all kinds of rules on Israel and propagated paganism. Then we come to Revelation 17. And our key text was actually from 14, the second angel. We all know this because we're Adventists. Revelation 17 says, "And he carried me away in the Spirit into the wilderness, and there I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and the beast had 7 heads and 10 horns." And if you look at this beast, it's got a lot of symbolic numbers and identifying symbols, and it's very similar to the beasts of Daniel 7. And what is this beast that we believe as Adventists, what is this beast that the woman rides? The beast is a political power. In fact, if you look in 17, and I encourage you to read all of Revelation 17 and 18 today, it talks about there are many kings, they're representatives of the heads. These are political powers. But this prostitute who represents Babylon in Revelation 17 and 18, she rides on them. She receives power from them. She has been unified with them. And she is a form of counterfeit religion who has dominion because of the kings of this world. We also believe that Babylon is the mother of other harlots. She's the mother of all kinds of false religions. And Ellen White says in many of her writings, those false religions, those other false harlots, are Protestant offshoots that we have in our country today. Testimonies to Ministers and Gospel Workers, page 62, says, "For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It is a wrath which is created by false doctrines. And when kings and presidents drink this wine, the wrath of her fornication, they are stirred with anger against those who will not come into harmony with the false and satanic heresies which exalt the false Sabbath, and lead men to trample underfoot God's memorial." So once you have a unification of religion and the political world, that's when you have the conditions that set up the polarity of society that we will see in the end times and that we are already seeing today. But we need to be careful because this is not Babylon on its own. These are not the kings of the world on their own. They are all being influenced by Satan, who is clothed as an angel of light. Again, Testimonies to Gospel Workers, page 604. "Fearful is the issue to which the world is to be brought. The powers of earth, uniting to war against the commandments of God, will decree that all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, conform to the customs of the church by observance of the false Sabbath." So, everyone, in my mind, I thought, Kabul, there will be something going on. Kabul will not fall. They will stand. But you know what? They fell just as easily as Babylon here in Revelation will fall. Everything may seem stable. And right now, it's harder and harder to believe that anything is stable. Because we see society, we see Babylon unraveling before our very eyes. But yet she says in Revelation 18:7, she says, "I sit a queen, I am no widow, mourning, and mourning I shall never see." So she's still very arrogant. She still feels that she's in complete control. And do you see the arrogance and hypocrisy of Babylon in our daily life? I can give us some examples. So we're horrified by the lives claimed by COVID. And let's put things into perspective. Almost 3,000 people died on September 11th. You know what our dying average is right now every day from COVID? Our 7-day average is 1,600 people are dying in the United States every day. Yesterday, around 4,000 people died. We're having a September 11th. At some of these peaks, there was well over 5,000 people dying every day. These are September 11ths that we miss. Especially if you're healthy, especially if it's not a loved one of yours that isn't dying. It was so shocking. September 11th was so shocking, but every day we have a tragedy going on in this world. Just in the United States, not talking about all the other horrible tragedies and war crimes and destruction in Afghanistan. So we're horrified by all these lives claimed by COVID. Yet just this week, I hear the government is going to sue Texas because of their laws on abortion restriction. So let's look at the contradictions of Babylon. We like to be arrogant when we're Babylonians in this country. We love and value life. So you look at COVID-19. In 2020, 375,000 people died, which is terrible. But in 2018, in abortions alone, medical and surgical abortions, the low number is 619,000 babies aborted. 619,000 up to almost 1,000,000, 888,000. The CDC has a low number. Statistica.com, abortions, has the high number. So what do we say? We say there is no right for anyone to choose because it's good for society that everyone get vaccinated. No choice for you, follow the science. But then on the other side, everyone has a right to choose who they're going to kill. This isn't life, let's ignore the science. These are the contradictions, brothers and sisters of Babylon. We like to define life by different things. And for how long? I was looking back in the 80s, over 1,000,000 babies a year It's actually come down a bit. Over 1 million babies a year we were aborting. But this is the science, this is the twisted, this is the haughty world we live in today. And what does the Lord say in Revelation 18:5 and 6? He's been watching these sins. They've been heaping up as high as the heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. He will pay her back as she herself has paid back others, and repay her a double portion for her deeds. Mix a double portion for her in the cup that she has mixed. It's just ironic. I've had a lot of epiphanies recently of how we like to twist our numbers and how we are so hypocritical as a country and as a nation. And because she is so hypocritical and her numbers and her sins have been heaped up to heaven, it says here in Great Controversy, page 613, it compares the angel that destroyed the Egyptians and the angel that went to destroy the people of David when he numbered the people of Israel. And then it says here, that same destructive power exercised by holy angels when God commands will be exercised by evil angels when he permits. There are forces now ready and only waiting the divine permission to spread desolation everywhere. All the people, the merchants, the shipmen, the marketplace people of Revelation, what do they say? Oh, what a city, what a great city. And they throw dust on their heads, and they weep and they mourn, crying out, alas, alas, for that great city, where all who had the ships at sea grew rich by her wealth, for in a single hour she has been laid to waste. From India, from Africa, from China, from the islands of the sea, from the downtrodden millions of so-called Christian lands, the cry of human woes ascending to God, that cry will not long be unanswered. God will cleanse the earth from all of its moral corruption, not by sea of water as in Noah's days, but by a sea of fire that cannot be quenched from human devising. In connection with his message, the call is heard, come out of her, my people. These announcements, uniting with the third angel's message, constitutes the final warning to be given to the inhabitants of the world. The message is simple for us today. You know, I think of August and September and you think, wow, how this country has failed. And as an American myself, it kind of hurts a bit, you know, because we think that we're making something better. But then I realize that, you know what? All we do is we invest in Babylon and we expect something righteous to come out of it. Just last night, I read another article when I shouldn't be going to sleep. That ISIS terrorist who they thought they hit with a drone was just a family of people. Had no relation to ISIS whatsoever. But that's what the United States does. That's what Babylon does. They just terminate, take out, do this, do that. We think we're making it better, but we only make it worse. The signs of the times are here, and in our minds, we need to think, you know what? This whole system is fallen. The system is fallen. Let us come out of Babylon and heed the final warning. Early Writings, page 277. The message of the fall of Babylon as written or given by the second angel is repeated, and with the additional mention of the corruptions which have been entering the churches since 1844. See, in 1844, the second angel was already in effect. In chapter 18 of Revelation, there is a fourth angel, and this fourth angel, she says here, the work of the fourth angel comes at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel's message as it swells to a what? A loud cry. So Kabul fell, and these words came to my mind, Babylon has fallen. You know, this is a terrible thing, but you know what? We're here for something bigger. We're here for something better. We may try to fix things in this world, but in the end, it's just broken. We have another job. We have another purpose. Here is one of those Air Force flights. They fit almost 700 people, I think, on this particular plane. Everyone knows these pictures. They're stuck in our mental consciousness. And my question for us is, Kabul is fallen, Babylon is fallen, where are we? Are we on the plane? That picture at the beginning of my slides of all those people standing in the dark, those are all Afghanis waiting to get on the plane. Were we in that line? Are we on this plane right now as it's about to take off? Or are we this man here hanging on to the wheels? We know the result of what happened to that. We remember the pictures, we remember seeing the bodies fall. Our world today is broken, it's fallen, the last evacuating flights are coming out. Where do we stand as a people? Where do I stand as an individual? And of these people here, it's too late for them. Have we joined them in the loud cry? Have we presented the loud cry? Have we brought them onto the plane with us? Or are we just going to leave them there? It's too late. It's too late. Are we going to join the fourth angel in making this swell to a loud cry when they still have a chance to climb up that ramp? Testimonies, Volume 8, page 653. And through the lack of zeal for the promulgation of the third angel's message, many others, while not apparently living in transgression, are nevertheless as verily lending their influence to the side of Satan as are those who openly sin against God. That's hard. We can look so good. We can come to church, but it's just by the fact that we're just passive. We're just the lukewarm Christian. We are lending our cause to Satan. She goes on to continue here, multitudes are perishing, but how few are burdened for these souls. There is a stupor, a paralysis upon many of the people of God, which prevents them from understanding the duty of the hour. Are you so paralyzed you can't get into the airport? You're just going to sit in Kabul and wait for Biden to get you out later? Or are you so paralyzed that you're not telling other people it's over? You know, this Babylon has fallen. They had maybe a few days as Afghanistan fell piece by piece. But then when suddenly the Taliban is in the capital, then they're all rushing at the airport. Are we paralyzed with inaction? What did Mordecai tell Esther? Were you here not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? For us, it's not the kingdom, but are we placed on this world for such a time as this? Are we ready to join the fourth angel and to make the loud cry swell to fill the whole earth? Because I think that this is the very end. This is near the very end. And the Lord has predicted in Revelation 18 the fall of Babylon. So my wish and prayer for us all today is that we get on that plane and we get our friends and family on that plane and we make this loud cry spread to the whole world because we were placed for this very hour. Amen.